In today's video, I'm talking about my 5 hottest picks for cards for Commander from Lord of the Rings Battle for Middle-earth, and this is from the mainline set. These are the cards that I think are going to have the most impact in Commander and probably hold a price tag going forward, both because of their power level in Commander, but also because of how difficult it might be to reprint some of these things because of how weirdly coded they are in terms of Lord of the Rings. If you want to pick up singles or sealed product, you can use the cool stuff link down in the description below. The code Kenobi to get 5% off your order to help support the show. Let's start off with Spiteful Banditry, a red X enchantment. When it enters the battlefield, it does X damage to each creature, and whenever one or more creatures your opponent controls dies, you create a treasure token. This ability triggers only once each turn. This is an X damage wrath effect on an enchantment that you play, and then it has a passive effect ongoing. Wherever one or more creatures your opponents control die, you get a treasure. They have capped it, they have protected it from being too broken by giving it an ability where it only triggers once each turn, but bearing in mind that's each turn, not your turn. If someone's creature dies in combat in another turn, you get a treasure. If someone kills something, you get a treasure. If you can sack things on your own board via a sacrifice effect like an altar or similar, you can get a treasure every single time. Some people have asked why they put a limit on it, and if I'm honest, it's because otherwise this card would be fucking absurd. Imagine a Meat Oak Massacre that generated you mana in a held and permanent way. Treasures are already an issue in Commander. I think if it didn't have the final clause, this card would be fucking nuts. Without it, it's just very, very strong. This is one of the cards that, because of its name, Spiteful Banditry, it could easily show up in another product further down the line, but bear in mind this is a mythic. I don't really know why. I guess in Limited, it's absolutely busted. A Wrath that gives you value afterwards is always incredibly strong in Limited, but I do kind of hate making things expensive because they're mythic because of this. The big upside of all this stuff is because collectibles are going to be hunted down by people even not playing Magic, the singles market should be flooded, so this stuff should be quite cheap early on for a pickup if you aren't cracking product. My next pick is Delighted Halfling. This is kind of an obvious one if you saw any of the murmurings and the humdrum on social medias and on Reddit when the card was spoiled at the Command Fest, but Delighted Halfling is a 1-mana Halfling citizen. It's a 1/2 and it taps for colourless mana. So far, so non-elf coded Findhorn elves or whatever. Its creature type not being elves does make it worse in the elf decks. It's something to consider in terms of its balancing. But its second mode, its second activated ability is very good. Add 1 mana of any colour and spend this mana only to cast legendary spells, and that spell can't be countered. Bearing in mind that in high powered decks and even in CEDH, 1 mana dorks see play to help accelerate you and get you ahead of the board. This not producing green mana is a downside, and not producing any colour of mana like a Birds of Paradise is also a downside. So there is balancing in some way to give it only a colourless activation for the first bit. But the mana of any colour can importantly be spent on your commander, and then it gives it a Cavern of Souls style. You cannot counter this effect. I find it funny that I said Cavern of Souls because that's the one that people remember, but Boseiju predates it by 5 years, and those earlier cards too, but that's not this video. Being able to play this on turn 1 then power out your commander, any of your commanders, because it gives any colour, if you're obviously playing green to be able to have access to Lighted Halfling, is very strong to stop it being countered, because being able to make your main line plan, if it's dependent upon your commander, uncounterable is very good. I recently started putting together CDH, Shalai and Halar, and this will be going into there to give me a mana dork that makes my commander uncounterable and makes my combos with Heliod, for example, even easier, because this can also make those uncountable. Remember, it's not just commander, it's any legendary spell, and keep in mind all planeswalkers are legendary, and there are other spells that are legendary too. Next up is probably the one that's the most sucking eggs, Orc Bowmaster, legacy powerhouse, the most playable of the modern previewed cards for modern as well, I believe, and an absolute house in Commander. A 2-mana 1/1 with flash. I've already spoke about this in previews before, but it's an Orc Archer that says whenever it enters the battlefield and whenever an opponent draws a card except for the first one they draw in each of their draw steps, Orc Bowmaster does 1 damage to any target, then amass Orcs 1. This thing will damage people for 3 and make a 3/3 in response to a Brainstorm. It will shoot people for 7 or kill a Grizzlebrand in response to an activation and Legacy. If you play this in Commander and cast a wheel, you're doing 21 damage, not including its own ETB, and making a 21 power and toughness onto your Orc army as well. This card is so unbelievably pushed, it's easily the best pick for pretty much every Eternal format from this set. I think this may even redefine some archetypes in Legacy, and thus I think this will command a good price tag going forward. On the upside, it is a rare and not a mythic, but I think it's probably the most desirable card across the entire set for every format that it's going to be legal in. So I think this might be one of the highest price tags, barring 1 or 2 other entries. I wouldn't be surprised if this is in top 3. Keep in mind though, being Orc Bowmasters means it's quite easy to print into any set or any setting, any plane where orcs are there. It can also just get new art and be stuck into any compilation set like a Masters set in the future too. Easy reprint territory if they want to. My next pick is the One Ring, yes, but not that one. The hype and the excitement and just the ludicrous nature of the One Ring deals and offers going on with the millions and millions being offered for it has overshadowed the fact that this card is actually a playable game piece. When you can read it, it is a 4-mana legendary artifact with indestructible. When it enters the battlefield and you have cast it, you gain protection from everything until your next turn. At the beginning of your upkeep, you lose 1 life for each burden counter on the One Ring, and you can tap it to put a good burden counter onto it, and then draw cards equal to the number of burden counters on it. This card will be more difficult to reprint because the One Ring is very Lord of the Rings, although I guess it's generic enough that they could do it with some different art somewhere else. 1 turn of protection from everything into your next turn is a rather solid effect anyway, and bearing in mind you could bounce this back to hand and recast it to have a pseudo-permanent protection. But beyond that, it gives you growing card advantage. You are losing life each turn equal to the burden counters, but you're drawing 1 card on the first turn, 2 on the second, and 3 on the third, meaning it will draw you more than anything like a most one-sided Howling Mine effects will do in the same amount of time. Add to that the ability that if you could untap this with some sort of untap or twiddle effect or a key effect, you are going to be able to draw multiple cards in a turn off of its last ability. I also think this will see play outside of Commander. I've primarily talked to Commander up to this point, but this will see play in Legacy in some form, where Soul Lands and Fast Mana can fire this out as a way to A, stop your opponent combo killing you next turn. They can't Storm kill you, they can't Merit Lage you, they can Thassa's Oracle though, if this has been in play the turn before and you cast it, because it gives you protection from everything, right? But beyond that, it'll be able to draw you cards, and with the Voltaic Key, draw you multiple cards in the same turn. Seems like a very strong contender for being a solid 4-drop in some sort of 8-cast artifact Soul Land deck in Legacy. Maybe even one of the prison decks too. I'm definitely going to try it alongside Blood Moon and Trinisphere and Chalice of the Void in Legacy. And my final pick is Gandalf the White, the only legendary creature on this list. 5-mana legendary creature avatar wizard. It's a 4/5 with flash, and you may cast legendary spells and artifact spells as though they had flash. So a 4/5 with that ability is reasonable if it was an uncommon or something, but this is a mythic, so it's a bit more pushed. If a legendary permanent or an artifact entering or leaving the battlefield causes a triggered ability or permanent you control to trigger, that ability triggers an additional time. So essentially, it's a Panonomicon for entering and leaving for all legendary permanents and artifacts. Yeah, this card is going to let you do some nutty things within a battlefield effect, especially if you get this plus Panonomicon or this and Elishnon in play. You're going to get double, triple, quadruple triggers all over the fucking shop. I'm already eyeing this up to go into Abdul Adrian, both versions that I have built. I have blue-white built and white-black is unsleeved on a desk next to me. It being Gandalf the White means that, again, it's a more difficult card to reprint. So I think if this becomes the Commander stable that I'm expecting it to do in dirtily, middle-range, value-y, white-based decks, I think this is going to command quite a high price tag going forward. I don't know if it'll be the top of the set, but it will be quite high up later on. Of course, they could reprint this with some sort of reskin where they give it a main name on the top and Gandalf the White in the sub-name bit if they start doing that, but they've been really lackluster with doing that recently, so I'm not sure if that's something we're going to see with this. And then my 5 picks for cards you should be looking out for, picking up or trading into for Commander, because all of these cards are fucking gas. And it's really interesting that all 5 of them are quite different in the role that they play. It isn't just 5 value-centric commanders. There are some value-centric commanders in this set, but I didn't pick those personally. Let me know what you think in the comment section below, and I'll see you in the next video. Ta-ta for now.